Hi there, I want to talk to you about how to go about your first study. You're going to see a list of resources that you're going to need to look at as you explore Exodus chapter 12. You'll see you need to go look at BibleGateway.com, the New Bible Commentary, the New Bible Dictionary, and the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. You're going to find a list of instructions under each of these sites, and what you're going to be doing is you're kind of mining for information. That doesn't mean for your paper that you're going to use every bit of information that you discover, but it does mean that you want to look through each of these things. And you're certainly welcome to go look at other resources and to go off on your own trails of investigation. So the first thing I want to talk about is BibleGateway.com. So when you go to BibleGateway.com, you'll discover that you can enter in the passage. So let's Exodus chapter 12, and we're looking at verses 1 to 13. And you can choose what version of the Bible you want. So let's just start with the NIV. And so it'll pull it up, the passage on the NIV will be on the website, and you'll be able to actually look through and read what the NIV has to say about Exodus chapter 12. You can also go and look at other versions of the Bible. You can look at, here's the NIV, here's the New King James Version, you'll find the New Revised Version, a couple different versions of that, the Orthodox Jewish Bible, the Voice. So you're going to find just a wide variety of translations that you can look up. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to read through each of these versions and you can compare the differences in translation. Remember, the Bible was written in Hebrew and Aramaic in the Old Testament and Greek in the New Testament. So our English Bibles have done translation from those original words, and what you do is you're looking and comparing to see how different translators, what choices they made to try to get at the meaning of those Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek words for you. So that's the first thing, is you're going to go to BibleGateway.com and you can compare the NRSV, the King James Version, the NIV, and the Message. And you're only looking for significant differences, not little tiny things like an A or a the or slight phrases. So hopefully that'll start to get you to this idea of what is the Hebrew or the Greek behind it without actually learning those languages at this time. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the New Bible Commentary. And when you look at the New Bible Commentary, you are going to use your Logos software. So when you look up your Logos software, you're going to type in, under your library, you're going to type in New Bible Commentary, and you should be able to find it in your list. Now, I have a lot more resources listed here, so that's why it's harder to find. But once you do, your New Bible Commentary will pop up, and you'll look up the passage on the Passover. Now, you want to make sure that your visual filter here is turned on for showing your page numbers, so that when you cite references out of this commentary, that you can cite what page they occurred. So this initial portion is on page 101, and then here's 102. So it's going to talk about, as we noted above, the previous cycle of episodes, and with an announcement of the firstborn son of Egypt will die. So this is trying to connect this Passover to the setting of what's happening in Exodus. And you might find that significant as you're going through your verse-by-verse exegesis. If you find that important, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cite the page number. This is on page 101. You're also going to want to cite what year this book was written and also who wrote the commentary. So how do we go about doing that? Well, to find the year of the commentary, you'll go to the title page. And here, what you'll find is that the year is going to be listed on the title page. So just look for the most recent publication, and here it is, 1994 is the year. That's fantastic. Now, the next question is, what is the author? So here we have the editors of the book. And sometimes with these dictionaries, you have to cite the editors, which are Carson, France, Moyer, and Wenham. But we also might discover that there was actually a specific author that wrote the chapter on the book of Exodus. So how do we go about finding that? Well, the author is going to either be listed in the introduction. As you look through the introduction, you might find the author's name either at the very beginning of the introduction, or you might find it at the end of the introduction. There's a couple places you might have to look. Or sometimes the authors are listed actually at the very end of the section. So this is Exodus. I clicked on Leviticus to get to the end. And what did we discover? Right here, T.D. Alexander, T. Desmond Alexander, is actually the person who wrote the commentary on the book of Exodus. So again, what we did was we looked in a few spots to figure out who this author was. I know that's not straightforward, but you have to kind of look around a little bit. So we might look on the title page, and here we'll find usually the editors. And if the author's not listed there, then you can go to the actual section where you've got your commentary. And here we went to the book of Exodus, and here in Exodus we looked at the beginning, and then we also looked at the actual end of the book of Exodus. And we found that the author was actually listed at the end of the section of Exodus. So to properly cite this, what I would cite this would be in my text, I would talk about this being connected to the previous story. And I would cite this as this was Alexander, and then it was 1992 was the year, and then that information was found on page 101. And I put the period there. So I should probably be more specific. Exodus chapter 12, 1 to 13 is being connected to the previous story. Now I found that information on page 101, and Alexander is the one who wrote that, and the year was 1992. You'll notice there's no comma between the author's last name and the year, but there is a comma after the year. You'll also notice that the period occurs outside at the very end at the close of the sentence. And so that's how you're going to be citing things. Now, what happens if you look up material and there's not a page number? Let's go back. So another one of our references we need to look at is the New Bible Dictionary. Let's see if the New Bible Dictionary has page numbers. So when we look up the New Bible Dictionary, we discover that there's also page numbers. And so in this case, again, we're going to be looking for the author. So in this case, we need to look up, let's look up blood. That's a short article. So let's type in blood. Okay, make sure your visual filter's on so that you have your page numbers. Now, here's the article on blood, and let's look at the end of this article. Is there anyone that's listed as the author? Oh, look at that. Leon Morris is listed as the author on this blood article. So we need to look for our page number. It looks like this is a short article, so we might have to scroll back to find what page this was on. And just keep scrolling until we find our nearest page, page 143. So this article on blood is page 143. Leon Morris is the author, and we need to find the year. So the year is going to be listed on the title page. So let's go back to the title page and look for the year. (1996). So again, if I want to talk about blood, it's Leon Morris, 1996, and I believe it was page 134. Let's just double check that. Oh, 143. I had those numbers backwards. No problem. And what are we going to cite about blood? Well, let's do a quick perusal of what is going on. The chief point about blood is that it points basically to life or death. So maybe I want to make a reference to the use of blood in the Passover story is connected to the idea of life or death. And so again, I've cited Morris, 1996. So that's another one of our resources that we use. Let's look at the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. So here we go to the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. And again, we'll check our visual filters. And look, they have page numbers. Fantastic. And so we need to look up what? Let's look at unleavened. Okay? So here I'm just going to do a quick typing in of unleavened. And again, we want to find our page number. Looks like it's on 907 and 908 is where this article is about unleavened. But I don't see an author listed at the end of that article, and I don't see an author listed at the beginning of the article. Okay, well, there's no author listed, so how do I cite this if there's not an author of the article? Well, we go back to the title page. And in this case, because there wasn't an author of this specific article, we are going to cite the editors. So this is, I'm going to put this over here so that I've got it more easily listed. So we are going to list Ryken, Wilhoit, and Longman. And this was 1996, I believe. Let's look what year. Oh, 1998. And it was on page 907. So that is how I would list it. Let's go back to the article on blood, or on unleavened, sorry. And let's see what we can find. Unleavened bread is an image of pilgrimage and corruption. Okay, that's really interesting. So maybe I want to write something about unleavened bread is an image of pilgrimage and corruption. Okay, and I got that information from Ryken, Wilcott, Longman, year 1998, page 907. I need to include my period, and I've got a citation of that one. So that's how you're going to go about citing your basic resources as you continue through it. And this is an example of that you'll be getting that includes a whole list of the actual EndNote citations. That's a little bit more complicated. But when you have an author listed, you will list that author and the article in the dictionary that's used. But in the case of Ryken, the author wasn't listed, so we just list the editor instead. So this will take some time to work through and to understand how these things are used and understood, but that's okay if that occurs. So if you have a resource that doesn't seem to include page numbers, that's a whole other issue. So let's look up a resource that doesn't have page numbers, like the InterVarsity Press Bible Background Commentary in the Old Testament. Here, there's actually not a page number listed. Now, you don't have to look at this for this week, but I'd recommend it if you have extra time. There's no page numbers listed. The visual filters, there's no page numbers. So how would I go about this? This was all written by one person. So we go to the title page, and we discover that it was written by Walt Matthews and Chevaliers. And so here, I will list the authors. Let's put them over here so I can see them. Walton, Matthews, and Chevaliers. We need to find the year. So let's look for our year, 2000, here in this case. And there wasn't a page number, so I put NP when I want to cite this. So that's how I would cite this resource. Now, the other option, if you really don't like using NP, is you could cite the actual verses. So this would be Exodus 12. And so maybe I cite verses, the section on 12, 1 to 11, might be another way that you can cite that. So that's how you would cite a resource where there's no pages, is you can look for something that indicates the location, or you can simply write no page. So hopefully this has helped with figuring out how to do some basic citation of your resources in text. So thanks a lot. Good luck.